Okay, if you will wander back in and get to your seats, before you sit down, I know that doesn't apply to most of you. If I could ask you to stand up for a minute. If Sue Ellen were here today, she would not like some of the things she's seeing because people are hugging on the right side. Sue Ellen conducted our hugging clinics, and I'm sorry that she's not here to be able to do that, but if you ever hug Sue Ellen, she would not let you hug. Can I, somebody, I need a volunteer. She would not let us hug like this. No. Because that's the wrong hug. She wanted heart-to-heart hugs, so you would have to hug this way. So everybody needs to practice. Find somebody and give them a heart-to-heart hug on the left side. Okay, thank you. I know that some of you probably need... Thank you. I know that some of you probably need more practice at that, so feel free to continue to do that throughout the day. Heart-to-heart hugs for Sue Ellen. Thank you. I also have another announcement. The green badges that you see that are out in the lobby, we've got badges, we've got stickers. Those are also Sue Ellen's. She would wear a badge that says Power of Kindness. And she would wear that until she saw someone, a stranger, do an act of kindness for somebody else, a random act of kindness. Then she would take off that badge and give them the badge for them, thanking them for the act of kindness that they had, and ask them to wear the badge until they saw somebody else do a random act of kindness and pass that on. So I urge you to either get the badges. There are bracelets out there that have Power of Kindness on them. There are some flashlights out there. There are buttons. There are stickers. Take one of those with you and be able to pass that on to someone you see doing a Power of Kindness. We are going to continue that on as any activity that we do at Reaching Out From Within. We'll have those Power of Kindness buttons on. So feel free to continue that practice in Sue Ellen's honor also. One last thing, I have a lost and found. Somebody lost a bracelet. If you can describe the bracelet, I'll give it to you, whoever it is. It was lost over here by the food or the water area, so if you're missing a diamond-like bracelet, yeah. If you can kind of describe that to me, we'll take you on your word of honor that that's yours. It looks more like it could belong to a female, but I'm not sure. So if you've lost an item, please let me know. As we prepare for the last panel for the day, in fact, the panelists can come on up. Go ahead and come on up. We've got Jason Miles, who is an alumni of Reaching Out From Within, as well as four other alumni. Did we decide? Four?
Four.
We will have four other alumni coming up, and I will let Jason introduce that. Before we do that, I wanted to make one more mention of the portraits that you see around the room. The portraits come from an exhibit called The Faces of Change, which was done in 2015, 2016 timeframe by Nick Vidros, a local artist. He went into the prisons at Lansing and at Topeka, took pictures of members of Reaching Out From Within, and got them framed, got them a statement by each of the people in the picture. They made a statement. We had someone from, help me out, who was the wordsmith on that? Anybody in the room?
Ann Willoughby?
The Bernstein, yes, but I can't remember who the person was that did it there. I'm sorry.
I thought it was Ann Willoughby.
No, it was somebody at Bernstein Rain with Phyllis. I apologize. I'll have to get the name later, but someone wordsmithed some of the words that the residents said and turn that into a quote. So you see their quote underneath their picture. This is a full display. We only have a few of the portraits here. I believe we have close to 40 of those. And we would love to showcase those at your church, at your art gallery, at your, you fill in the blank, community center, at your prison, to be able to tell the story of what Reaching Out from Within is. So if you have an opportunity to be able to do that, please email us, let us know how we can get a hold of you, or you can get a hold of us to be able to put this fabulous work of art on display so we can continue to get the word out about Reaching Out from Within. So at this point, I will be quiet and turn it over to Jason, who is going to moderate the last panel with our Reaching Out from Within alumni. Jason, it's all yours.
Yay. Thanks, Greg. My name is Jason Miles. I am here to moderate the alumni panel. And so what we're going to do to start off with, so assuming everybody knows, but I'll say it anyway, we call ourselves alumni if we've been involved in Reaching Out from Within inside and we're now out. We call ourselves alumni. And so I'm moderating the alumni panel. We're going to go through first and kind of I'll introduce myself. We're going to go through first and do a little introduction. And then we have a series of questions that each of the members on the panel are going to answer. And then we'll open it up to questions. So a quick introduction for myself. I'm also an alumni of Reaching Out from Within. I was incarcerated from 1991 to 1996. I got involved in Reaching Out from Within probably my last year of incarceration at the minimum unit at Lansing.
Hi, thanks for having me. I'm Corey Duvall, and I did 7.5 years from 2017 till August of last year, 2024. And I involved myself with Reaching Out from Within, I think in 2021, So about 3 years in, I was the chairman of the board at the Lansing Minimum Facility, and we did a lot of awesome things like going out and speaking to students at CAPS, and we just had a really good group of people and really enjoyed ourselves, but really helped to change me and everything I had going on. So,
my name is Vaughn Bishop, and I was a repeat offender. So I started with Reaching Out from Within when it started with Greg Musselman. I just couldn't get it right. I continued to go in and out, and with the program, just keep being there, being present, listening. I finally got it right.
I am Daryl L. Lewis. Many people in prison call me Hollywood for whatever reason, I don't know. But I was incarcerated for 35 years, and according to Google, that's like 12,975 days. So whichever one you want to choose. I was incarcerated from 1988 to last year, 2024, May 20th. So I've been out for 10 months and 10 days as of today. And Reaching Out from Within helped with that a lot.
Hi, my name is Ed Lassley. I was incarcerated from 1996 to last July 1st. I've done 28 years. I've been a member of Reaching Out from Within since about 2012, and it's just been an amazing program, and the people and the volunteers in it.
Thank you. So following the same chain there, Corey, would you start off by letting us know what led you to join Reaching Out from Within?
So a man named Brandon Herring lived right next to me for several years when I was in the minimum unit at Lansing. And I had some guys, I did some time in Ellsworth too before I got my minimum custody. And they were involved in Reaching Out from Within, and I wasn't about joining stuff up until that point. But him and one other guy pulled up on me one day and they said, hey man, come on down there. You know, it's a great group of people. They just sit around and talk and ask great questions and make you think. Oh, and by the way, if you stick it out between now and December, you can join our Christmas banquet. So if you don't like it, no harm, no foul. And you get a nice little box of hygiene and some other stuff that the people at Reaching Out put together for you. So that's really what led me there. And then I went there the first night, and then 2 more nights, once a week, so 3 weeks. And then there I was sitting in front of a group of basically strangers, and I was telling them things that I've never told anybody in my life. And it was an opening experience for me, and it just was like a weight lifted off my shoulders, sharing that with a bunch of people whom now I know, but at that point I barely knew those people at all. So that's what led me there. But the people and the volunteers are what kept me coming back every week.
I'm probably one of the original members of Reaching Out from Within. We was on the Hill, and it was co-ed. So my first wanting to go was because it was co-ed and men would be there. So it was like a meet and greet. So I'm sorry about that, but that's what it was. I think that's what the question was.
Yeah, that was the question. That was the question. How you gonna follow that, Daryl?
So actually, I came into the Department of Corrections back when Lansing was called Kansas State Penitentiary. So it was long before it was a correctional facility. And so I was an active gang member. And in 2004, when I saw the Kansas Parole Board, like 2 months before seeing the parole board that had to let me out of prison, I was involved in a gang war. So when I saw the board in 2005, their recommendation for me, they passed me for 4 years, but the recommendation was to go to this thing called Stop the Violence. So as a gang member, I'm saying, why on earth would I go to a thing called Stop the Violence? That doesn't even make sense. So I decided that I would do it because it's for the purposes of parole. And when I got there the first time, I looked around the room and saw these guys. I'm saying, man, I used to fight against you. I used to fight against you. Why are you dudes here? Y'all faking. I'm not going to be down here faking. So anyway, as I listened more and more, again, like you're talking about the volunteers, after your 3rd time going, you have to give what's called an icebreaker, where you stand up and tell who you are, what you're about, or whatever. And so I had all these dreams and aspirations, but I never thought any of them would come true. It was just some stuff to say because the crime that I committed, I figured that I would spend the rest of my life in prison. So with that being the case, after I did my icebreaker and said, I want to write books, I want to do all this grandiose stuff, there was a little small lady that approached me from my side. And so first of all, I wondered, how's this little small lady walking up to me like this? Does she know I'm crazy? So anyway, but she told me, she said to me, I looked down to her, I said hello, and she said hello. Well, she said hello first, and I said hello. She said, minus your anger, you can be anything you want to be. And so I said, well, who is this lady and what kind of game is she trying to run? And so after saying that, she said, you have to learn to believe in yourself. And she said, what I want you to do for me, the first time I met this lady, she gave me an assignment. How do you meet somebody the first time and they give you an assignment? She said, the next time that I see you, I want you to tell me what your source of anger is. And I was like, well, I'm in prison. And she said, that's not the source of your anger. Find out what the source of your anger is, and I need to know that next time I see you. So that means I have to go back. So the next week when I came back, this beautiful woman who I called Dr. Sue Ellen Freed, and the reason I call her doctor, and she was always quick to stop and correct that. I'm not a doctor, but in my eyes, she was a doctor because she helped me to administer healing on myself that has made me be the person I am now. So I met Dr. Sue Ellen Freed at that time, and she's like, hey, man, I'm going to watch you. I'm going to be like a partner with you. And so I'm like, who is this lady? But she continued on, and like with all the other volunteers here, it really is the volunteers that keep you coming back. And so I hate to really say this, but because she would probably, I don't know, she might have told, no, I think it's probably just me. But Sue Ellen Freed used to always tell me that I was her favorite, and with that, I always I don't think I'm supposed to share that.
You too?
but I'm supposed to be the favorite. So with that being the case, a lot of the times I struggled through going through things, through drug addiction, gang violence, everything that I went through. Even when I fell down, she was always there to say, hey, you can try it again. Just, you have another opportunity to continue. And so with that being the case, I continue to continue. Now I'm part of the family, Paula, so just letting you know. And that was my experience with how I came a part of what is now reaching out from within.
So around the time period I joined, I'd been facing a lot of anger and frustration and just looking for answers in my life. You know, how do I get past this? How do I break this cycle? And some of my friends, that one of them's in a picture over there, and there's a few of them in here, they were like, hey, you need to come to this group. And I thought about it for a while and kicked it around. I'm like, you know what, this can't hurt. I got to be open to some change here. Something's got to change. So I went to the group and I sat in, and after that one night, I just never quit going back. Like, it was really what I needed at the time I needed it for what I was looking to do in my life. And the people, the experience of realizing that you're not alone, that there's a shared bond between everybody sitting in there because they're all looking to make a change, and they're doing it willingly and voluntarily. And like, I've never looked back. It's just not been a regret at all.
There it is.
Thank you. So the next question, I'd like for you all to talk about the most impactful thing that happened to you in reaching out from within. It could be a moment where you understood something that was contrary to what you had believed before, whether it was about yourself, about the world, or if it's just an experience you had, just something that really meant a lot to you or that stands out to you that you had only because you were in that room of reaching out from within that so many of us are familiar with.
It's hard to narrow down to one specific thing, but if I had to pick, I would say that having the opportunity to go to Blue Valley School District at CAPS, it's like a high school pre-law type of classroom, and these students get to come out to where I work at Zephyr, and they get to tour our facility, and they get to learn about everything that we've got going on there. Then they also get to tour, I believe, the minimum dorm, and they get to see what it's like in there. But on the flip side, as a Reaching Out From Within member, once a semester, a group of people from Lansing Minimum, 2 or 3 people, get to go out there and they get to talk. And like Hollywood was saying earlier, on your third meeting, you have your icebreaker. And so that's kind of what we do. We went out there and we sat down, and what I was saying before just a few minutes ago, you know, I shared with that group of people in prison some things that I've never told anybody in my life and didn't think that I ever would tell anybody, you know what I mean? Right. Those were my secrets, and I'm not going to share them with people. So having the opportunity to go out there and sit in a classroom full of students where most of the time they're actually enthralled with what you have to say and telling the story, you know, the somewhat watered down horror story of how you ended up in prison, and then all the different things that you did to overcome what led you to be in that position, and seeing their reactions, listening to the questions that they had after we were done speaking about our lives and our experiences. That, I would have to say, for me, was probably the single most powerful moment. My first experience, I was blessed enough to be able to go there several times and speak with several different groups of students. And each time it was, you know, the same powerful thing, but that first one, you know, I'll never forget that moment from the day I die. I mean, that was very powerful for me.
Mine was my icebreaker. I think women are very emotional, so when you God gives you a responsibility of being a mother. And when you do not fulfill that responsibility, I think that is probably the worst guilt a woman can carry. So for me and my icebreaker, I had to admit that I chose something else beside my children. And that opened the floodgate for the other women to realize it and to come to grips with it. And it's a hard thing to stand in front of people and admit that you chose something else besides your children. And during my icebreaker, I got really comfortable with speaking because you see the impact that it has on the other women. Like I said, women are very emotional. Sue Ellen would come in, and it was like Christmas every Monday. She wore fuchsia jackets, and she was very colorful. And she would hug you, and really it would give you that confidence to speak and just let it out. And I think that is the most important thing about reaching out from within. By speaking, you heal yourself. And by healing yourself, you heal others. So it's kind of like you start doing service work. You start speaking. Reaching out for things gave me my confidence back when I lost it. It gave me my womanhood back when I lost that. It gave me that I might not have been a mother then, but that was just only a chapter of my life. I had to come up with, this is just a chapter I have my whole life. So Sue Ellen Freed was my mentor. I was the only one that she ever mentored. And just the aspect of me letting her down was like probably worse than letting my mother down. Because one thing about reaching out from within, we thrive and we get donors because we don't go back. That's why people believe in us. We have that mission that we're not going back. And she instilled that in me that I was somebody and I had a purpose. And that's where we're born. We're born to have a purpose. And my purpose was to speak to whatever the worst thing you ever done, to speak about it and heal yourself. And mine was motherhood.
Well, before speaking about that moment, I first have to give a shout out to all of the volunteers and all the people that came with reaching out from within. I mean, there's a whole plethora of them there, but it would not be for them, then we would not have the program that we have and it would not work as effectively as it is. Greg and Marty Resch back there, they were my mentors for a long time. Greg, she's still number one. She's still number one. Still number one. But in the midst of all that, I mean, we cannot say enough about Dr. Sue Ellen Freed. So my most memorable moment would be the day that she came with the hugs. She came one time and she said, hey, I learned a bunch of new hugs. She had like 7 to 10, if anybody remembers, different type of hugs. Now, as Greg showed you before, that you have to hug with the heart side. Well, one day she said, I need a volunteer. And so it's like 30 of us in a circle. She volunteered, and other guys raised their hand, but me being the favorite, she said, you, and she chose me. And so I don't know about these hugs, so she gives you different types of hugs. There's this hug, there's a welcoming hug. Well, the final hug, she walked about 7 feet away, and she said, here's the final hug, and she took off running. She didn't tell me that she was about to take off running. And this little lady runs and jumps in the air and lands in my, like, I'm standing there, and I was a little smaller than I am now, so I'm thinking, you cannot drop Sue Ellen Free. How you have that? That's not going to turn out right, but she jumped in the air, and so I'm holding her, and she said, I love you, and gave me the hug, and I was like, man, if I drop you. But anyway, so I just think that was the most memorable moment because it was about love. She was showing the different ways that you could show love. And with that, I pass.
Okay. So my most memorable moment or impactful moment was the day that I realized while sitting in the group that the problem with me and where I was me. And that this program gave me the psychology to understand and dig back through that, unpack that, and then change that. And then the ability to go forward, that my past wasn't my future. And it did set me free from that feeling that your past is just going to hold you back. And so then I started the path with the group and even after the group and outside of the group of continuing personal change, looking for every avenue and just adding on to it. So this group was my base to rebuild my life and understand how I got where I was and to continue going forward in a new direction. And it was all in this group.
Awesome. Thank you. So this next question is kind of a three-parter. So, yeah, you okay, Daryl?
Two's the best I can do.
Two's the best you can do? All right, pick the best two out of these three. Okay. So we want to talk about your reentry experience. We want to hear about your reentry experience. And so it's how could you have been better prepared? So there's a lot of people from the system in here, and they need to hear from you what your experience was. You have firsthand knowledge of reentry, so they want to hear from you of what your experience was like. How, in your mind, your thoughts, your ideas, what could have been done to better prepare you, and then kind of maybe what surprised you, about getting out, whether it's technology or employment or whatever it is, something about your reentry experience that you didn't think was going to be a thing and it ended up being a thing.
Right.
So mine personally, in the moment, it was stressful. There was a lot going on, a lot of moving parts, but luckily I had Marcy Concater, Mr. Preston, Kelly over there. Big shout out to those guys helping me out. I mean, I've heard horror stories from people before me or whatever, but those three right there really made it a lot easier for me. And I was lucky enough to have people, my mom especially, out there just moving heaven and earth to get me where I needed to go. It was a little bit stressful for me because I'm not from Kansas City or Leavenworth rather, and that's where I'm staying because I got to keep my job where I worked for 5 years while I was incarcerated. So that's another blessing that I had. I had the ability to go out into the community every day for 5 years and see people that were not in prison and work with them hand in hand. And so that was, that kind of took the edge off of what otherwise would have been a culture shock, I'm sure. Because, it was only 7.5 years, but there's a lot that's changed in 7.5 years. Better prepared, I think, I don't think that there's really any way I could have been better prepared other than just, I'm going to spend the rest of my life working on me. So after that, I mean, I was ready to go. I had everything I needed. Like I said, I had a job, so, I had everything. Had a house that was, leased in my name. I had everything that I needed to furnish that house. I was ready to go. I was cool. And thanks to the people that I mentioned before, I was able to accommodate all those things. And like I said, it was stressful in the moment because, 3 times, Marcy, our plan changed, something like that. I left the visitation room and I thought I had this place and everything was cool. And then a couple of days later, she'd call me down there and be like, hey, listen, I don't know. But, it is what it is. We rolled with the punches and we got it done. So the only thing that I can say, and it's not really for me personally, but I've seen it time and time again, like the way that they give you your money. If you've been like I was in my situation, I had a job and I had a decent amount of money in my account waiting for me. If I could make a recommendation to KDOC is figure that out, please. Because, I had X number of dollars on my account and I walked out the door and had access to the $50 bill that they gave me and a debit card. But that debit card doesn't activate until 2 p.m. that day. So you've got all this stuff that you've got to accomplish day one. Like, I don't know, learning how to use a debit card.
Ain't that serious business?
So, streamlining that process maybe, or reevaluating it at the very least. And of course, I was lucky enough to be the very first group of people that was let out with this particular debit card. So nobody in the world knew how this was functioning. But we got it all figured out. Everything was okay. But also on a different thing, I would just like to throw it out there that budgeting. Teaching people how to manage their money. Because if it wasn't for my conscious effort and groups like Reaching Out From Within and having a job and all those things, there's 100 different variables that could have been different in my experience in prison. And at any time, if any one of those would have shifted, there's no reason to believe that I wouldn't have gone right back to the same thing that I knew took me to prison, which at the end of the day was money. I wanted more of it. I couldn't make it like that, so I did these things to get there. So managing that in a responsible way, I would say, would be paramount to people's success going forward. And I think groups like Reaching Out From Within and other programs that we have inside the penitentiary can facilitate that. And even if you're not fortunate enough to have the resources like I was personally when you get out, at least having the knowledge and being comfortable with something like budgeting and managing whatever you do have. And when you get that job, when you first get out, some people, there's a lot of people that I did time with that never had a 9-to-5 job. That was never a thing. What's a W-2? You know what I mean? That's a real thing. People don't know what those things are. And so having those type of things taught to you, almost mandatory in my opinion, would be paramount to success. With that, I pass.
Question, what was your reentry experience? I was blessed. I had Sue Ellen as my mentor. I had Lynn Hinkle as my life coach. And I moved with my daughter that is just like me. So she's here today, and my life coach is here. I moved in on a bunk bed on the top bunk. Even in prison, I didn't do top bunk. But I was top bunk on the bunk bed, and I used what I did in prison that made me stand out, and that was working, doing floors, cleaning. Anytime inspection came, they looked for Von Varner. She's going to get it clean so we can pass inspection. So when I got out, I started cleaning. I created my own business because something about me when I got out, it was just too, even my supervisor told him, we can't continue. So I don't know what it was about me, but they booted me everywhere I went. So I had to create my own job for me and for others. So I cleaned Connections to Success. I had a contract with them, which was great. I could get clothes. And I was around other people getting out, so I was able to tell them my story. I cleaned for Midwest Innocent Project. I had a contract with them, which they're trying to get people out that did not commit their crimes. Sue Ellen would always give me the best advice. Lynn would always give me the best of her advice. One time I was buying my son a car. She said, no, don't buy him a car. Kids need to learn to buy their own car so they can appreciate it. But then I came back and said, I didn't buy toys. Mm-hmm. So I had to let them understand that y'all motherhood is not like mine.
That's right.
I didn't buy my kids toys, so I bought them a car when I got out. So I spent so much time trying to cater to my children to let them know I'm here and I'm not going nowhere. They were not trusting me. So I think that was one of my biggest surprises. I didn't get a warm welcome. I had to make my warm welcome. So, and that was because, again, like I said, I was a repeat offender. So they did not trust me. COVID came. I was cleaning, everything shut down. So I had my grandson in my household, and I had my daughter. I had to pivot. So I had to think of what am I going to do now? I went into truck driving. So now I'm not a part of the community and helping people and talking to people, because that was the first thing I did when I got out. I used to pick up the women that got out on their first day and take them to whatever they had to do. They had to go get their driver's license. They had to go get ID. And I learned by doing that service work that everybody's different. I mean, one situation I had, a lady got out, and I was going to drop her off, and I'm glad I didn't, because she couldn't read or write. So I had to write out everything that she was trying to do. So I'm here to say everybody's journey is different. It's going to be a different impact on your family. It's about how you treated your family, what choices you made with your family. I had a hardcore family that was not trusting me. So I'm grateful. I'm grateful for Chantel. She made it so hard for me that I hurried up and got her out of her house. That was good for me. It was very good for me. I did not realize it at the time, but it was such a struggle. It was so, and the disrespect. You cannot get respect until you earn it. I did not have respect for my kids. I had to earn it. So I went into a real, I went into chaos, but I handled it. Each, like Sue Ellen used to take a little bit at a time. My health went bad. I had surgery. Sue Ellen came, and she came with cupcakes and hot chocolate and serviced every one of my family members at my surgery. They made me feel like I was somebody, which made me feel like I was somebody. They instilled self-esteem in me, encouragement. I had 2 twin towers. I had Sue Ellen and I had Lane Hinkle. And I think without that and the change of I changed cities. I was in Kansas, Wichita. I changed in Missouri. Nobody knew me. They didn't know the drug addict me. So everybody that I introduced myself to, they knew me of what I did today and who I was now. I think changing your city is very, very important, because everybody just remembers you and what you was doing. So here in Missouri, I was able to start all over. And what they seen was a hard worker, a go-getter, and a woman that really wanted to have something. But I was blessed. I had a mentor and I had a life coach. And I had a daughter that was very, very judgmental, strict, and did not never give me a break, and still does not. And
Ask the questions again. As far as, first of all, I wanted to say, many times people say you go to prison to be rehabilitated, and there's no rehabilitation in prison. What I found out about that is that you have to want the rehabilitation. You have to be the one that makes the way in order to get the rehabilitation. So as far as them just coming and say, hey, this is what you need and we're going to fix you, that doesn't happen. So I aligned myself with a team of people that were able to work with me to make my things happen that I needed to be. With regards to some of the things that I think could possibly be helped with regards to, I keep saying regards, to the whole transitioning period is, I like them, like you said, the money. So you give you money. They had a thing called the Workforce Development Program when I was there. Pretty wonderful, nice. Well, pretty much they teach you how to fill out an application. They teach you how to do a resume. They teach you how to obtain the job. They teach you how to budget a little bit and save. Nothing about insurance. There's nothing about all the little amenities that you might possibly need in order to make your transition possible. So I just think that with regards to the work situation, money, budgeting, all this is very important. Investments, anything that does with the economic system that we live in now, because coming out of the prison, we have little or nothing. Most times we do. Sometimes other guys come out with more than others. But anyway, so you're starting off fresh. So there should be like a little bit more stuff with regards to investments and the whole thing that you would have to deal with as far as the livelihood on the outside. The other thing that I would have to add a part to, this is just possibly just for the KDOC, they have a thing called Interstate Compact, pretty much like what you're speaking of. If you catch your crime in the state of Kansas and you want to go to another state, you have to go through Marcy and a bunch of people and get this interstate compact situation. Well, sometimes there's a breakdown from the state that you did time in and the state that you're going to. So, of course, we have the MoKan situation, Missouri, Kansas, or whatever. But when I got to Missouri, they said, well, Kansas should have did that for you. Kansas should have made that happen. So I called Kansas and say, okay, well, where's what I need, my resource, whatever. They said, well, you're in Missouri custody, so you need to talk to Missouri about that. So I just think the breakdown between the two states, whichever state that you go to, should be kind of worked with. The final thing is mental health. If you were to ask me, I think that most prisons should become not mental asylums as far as like for mentally or crazy people, or I don't like to use the term crazy, but insane people. But there's so many social workers, there's so many people that want to deal with mental health issues out there. But a lot of times we're not able to get the mental health that we need because most times we don't know that we need the mental health. And so trauma, when we're speaking about trauma begins long before a person commits a crime. You don't just have that moment, I'm going to just go rob and steal and kill and everything that day and the trauma starts. Being incarcerated in and of itself, I know a lot of people are under the mindset that, well, you shouldn't have did the crime if you didn't want to do the time. You know, we have that, well, you should have stayed out of trouble. If you wouldn't have stayed out of trouble, you have to deal with these things. But the mental health dealing with the person that's incarcerated, it's just like the suicide rate in there. Sometimes I think that the suicide rate on the outside, when they're going to do their statistics, they take some of the people that have died from prison and just add that to their statistic because they rarely talk about suicides in prison. But the mental health situation is so dire, especially dealing with trauma. If you don't start working with that before released, when you get to that outside, I got out, like I said, 10 months ago, to make it personal, 10 months ago, and I didn't know anything about post-traumatic stress disorder until one day I was riding with my mother and we went into a Home Depot. And so this is not to make it an issue, but you know, I was a gang member. So a lot of times the black gang members would get into it with the Mexican gang members. So I was out for maybe 3 weeks, and we're going to Home Depot, and we stop at a stoplight. Now, there's 12 Mexicans outside making a living for their families. They have jackhammers. They're working. They're not thinking about me. They don't even know anything about me. But because the mindset I have from being institutionalized, thinking anytime you see a group of Mexicans talking and they start speaking in Spanish, they're probably about to move on you. So with that type of mentality, when I saw those people standing there, I'm thinking, and I started to panic. So I'm asking my mother, this is the longest stoplight we've ever had. Would you please run this light? I mean, I'm saying it jokingly now, but I was upset with my mother because she wouldn't turn because I had fear that there's something might happen with these guys that are standing here that have no idea that I'm even there. So when we turned the corner, we got into Home Depot. There were two Hispanic men that were walking, and my mother was in the wrong. She cut in front of them, but they just started laughing. They probably weren't even thinking about anything my mother said, but in my mind, it meant attack. So let me confront these dudes to see if there's a problem. These men weren't thinking about me or my mother one bit. But the institutionalized situation, I mean, it's really serious and stuff. So you say, oh, well, you can make it, but there are men that come out of prison, regardless of what they did, that suffer. Suffer in silence because we can't go in prison. You don't see us walking around crying all the time. Hey, this is what happened to me today. Well, I'm going through the same thing. I don't care about your food not being good. Mine wasn't good either. So who do you talk to? And then there's the stigma when guys really need mental health because they usually hire women in the mental health facility inside the prison that, oh, these guys are just coming over here. They want to hang around the girls. They want to talk to the women. And that might not be the case. Some guy might really be suffering. So with regards to mental health, I just think that there should be more that is done, not only on the inside, but the outside. And also, I heard someone say earlier, with regards to your family, we think that, okay, the person coming out of prison, everything is going to be great. He's coming home to his family. Well, this is a whole transition from the family as well. My mother held a beautiful, smiley face for 35 years. Every time she come to visit me, it was always smiles, it was always happy, it was always good. But once we got to living together and I got to moving around and she has this grown man in her house and everything, she wasn't as nice as she was in the visiting room. But it took us to have a joint therapy session for me to understand the things that she's gone through for all those years, as well as what she's going through now with this new situation, because their lives change too when we come home. So I just think mental health. There should a lot of work should be done with the trauma. In fact, maybe make that mandatory. You can sentence a 20-year-old to mandatory 25 years in prison. Sentence somebody to mandatory mental health while they're in prison. You can't get out until you get some healing. That I pass.
So my reentry was pretty methodical. I started kind of preparing for my release about 2012, about the time I joined Reaching Out From Within. I also, a few years later, went into Brothers in Blue reentry, which was a great add-on for me and the changes I was making in my life. And so I kind of prepared a lot down through there. It was smooth. I went to work release. I went to Wichita. I got a job at Koch Industries, and I'm still there now, but I'm in the corporate office. So I handled all that pretty decently. There was some things like going out in public and being in large crowds, and, you know, like, these people all know, like, how are they gonna judge me? Like, you get that in your head a lot. And so I wasn't prepared for that exactly. And as far as the reentry part goes, housing, you know, if you have money, you have a job, you have things, but still having doors slammed in your face. Oh, no, you're on parole. We're not going to rent to you. I got to, like, I'm not. So that wasn't something I was prepared for. It took me about 5 or 6 months really to find the place that would rent to me. And that and credit, like how much credit impacts our lives, like there's not really no way to prepare for that, but not understanding how much that impacts your lives when you get out, that you have no credit. So them two things were probably, I don't know how to overcome them problems exactly, but them were the two that kind of surprised me. How I would feel out in public, walking around or on a bus, and just like the financial aspects of housing. So mine's kind of short. It was pretty easy.
Oh, you save room because Daryl wants to talk some more.
Yeah, I'll take up some
Hold
of
on.
your time.
Hey, I want to tell you, when I got out, somebody told me that bad credit is better than no credit.
Right.
I was like, what?
Right.
No.
Go ahead, Daryl.
Well, with regard to credit, that's a very big thing. I mean, we're trying to understand and build credit, but also insurance. So when your workforce development situation, maybe you can talk about credit, investing, stocks, all of this versus just how to get a job. Because insurance, my mother came to me and she said, hey, you need to get some insurance. You're going to need insurance, you know, because Lansing has paid for your insurance all these years, but you need insurance. So I said, okay, came in as a teenager, never bought insurance. What is this about outside of car insurance? So she told me, okay, Google. If I hear Google and YouTube it one more time, it's going to be problems. But, so I did the Google, found out, okay, let's try this. I don't really know anything about deductibles or any of that type of stuff, but I had to Google other words to find out other words. And so we go through this thing, and then after I get an insurance company, I said, okay, this is where I'm going to go. She said, okay, well, who's your provider? So I said, okay, Blue Cross and Blue Shield. It says it right there. She said, no, you need a provider. You need a doctor. So things like that. How was I to know that getting insurance, I had to get a doctor with the insurance? We don't know things like that. So then I get the provider. I find one. Okay, here's a listing. Get the provider. And now I go to one of my appointments. Everything's covered. Great. I go to the next appointment, and another guy steps in and says, hey, your person's not going to be here today. I said, okay, fine. But since you're here, if you want me to see you, I will, or you can just reschedule. And this was a scheduled appointment. I said, okay, fine, I'll see you. I get a bill in the mail that says, hey, you're outside of my insurance network. So I don't know nothing about no insurance network. I went to the same place that I got before it worked, but I didn't know. So just giving us a better understanding about insurance and things. Now $1,000 in debt, but we'll work on it. Don't worry about it. Now I can build credit off my $1,000 debt.
Yeah, there you go.
Credit is better than no credit.
Right.
There you go.
All right, there it is. That's all.
All right. Hey, we got about 10 minutes left. We wanted to save some time for questions. Oh, they're already lined up. All right. Should we be scared? Okay.
All right, this is a great question from Heidi in California.
Whoa.
As a human who wants to do healing work with humans who are residents of prisons, what piece of advice would you give me for the first day I walk inside?
Be raw, be real, and be relevant.
Breathe.
Breathe.
Smile.
Have fun.
Be personable.
Watch everything moving.
That's that trauma talk.
That's real. That's reality. That's the.
Okay, I got one more. Sherry says, I'd love to know from each of you about the programs or initiatives that most excite you and how we can support those initiatives. Maybe there's something we don't know about that's happening that we should support from the outside.
I'll go ahead and say.
Reaching out from within, sorry. Got it.
I think behavioral health classes, mental health, to really kind of understand self and dig through the psychology of our own brokenness and how to heal from that and to find peace in that. Anything in the realm of behavioral and mental health programs.
The running club. Run, you get those endorphins going. Helps you during time. It's very important for me.
Enneagram studies.
Yesterday, I had the opportunity to go back into Lansing Correctional Facility for the first time after being released. And it was solely based on this guy back here by the name of Lionel Sly. Stand up for us, Mr. Sly.
Stand up, Sly.
He created a program called Incarcerated Men Putting Away Childish Things. IMPACT, that's what it stands for. And it's been up and running for a good little while. It's like a men dealing with men about men issues. We talk about everything from leadership to parenthood, fatherhood. It's like dynamic. Now, reaching out for them, we know that it is wonderful and it's great, so I'm not taking anything away with this. But impact, it makes an impact because they don't play no games. He pulls no punches. There's no nice flowery words and everything. We use expletives. We cuss if we need to be. So, I mean, it's really impactful. So if in the state of Kansas, maybe it should be expanded to other prisons, but Impact is a wonderful, wonderful place as well.
Did you raise your hand, Marcy, for a question?
In Lansing Correctional Facility.
Hold on. So the question is, where is Impact located?
It's in Lansing. It's in the prison.
It's a whole different
Mr. Sly.
program.
Hold on.
Yes, for me. Yes, for me. But I can't speak for them.
Yes. Yep. You know it.
Yes. So was Mr. Sly speaking?
Online, there are 2 more questions? Oh, you want? Okay. Do we have 2 more questions? Looks like we're good.
Somebody's got a question.
I salute you. Really, I do.
Thank you all.
I hope you can see why Reaching Out From Within, the program, is impactful in the lives of the people inside, but how they then touch the lives of each of us on the outside, and why that's important. So, thank you for your support. Before we close today, I want to take an opportunity to hear from some of you. I know the evaluations are going out. If you would answer those, we would appreciate that. But did anybody have an aha moment today? Anybody have a takeaway that they are leaving with and Carrie, I don't know if we've got the microphones out so we can hear everyone. Anybody have an aha moment? Eliza.
But they can't hear you online.
Yep.
So I moderated the employment and education panel in one of the breakout rooms, and Chris Stevenson pointed out to me that we did not have any employers represented in that room. And so that is an aha moment for me that we as an organization need to be more active. And Chris did say that he would join the committee, Preston. Chris did say that he would join the committee and help me to get employers to the symposium next year. But I do want to just point out that that was my aha moment from this year's symposium, that we need to work on getting employers here.
Great observation. Thank you. And thank you, Chris, for stepping up and joining the committee so you can be on the committee and help us do that next year. We appreciate that. Anybody else, an aha moment? Kinsey, in the back.
One thing that I've consistently learned while working within corrections and with people involved in justice is that names are empowering. And we heard that with one of our panels today, is that names are dignifying, they're empowering, and they're one of the most important people to, or one of the most important things to our humanity. And just by learning someone's name, we can offer them that dignity piece.
Thank you. Kinsey, would you tell them who you are and what you do, since
Absolutely. Hi, everyone. My name is Kinsey Clausen. I'm Greg's intern. I work with Avila, or I'm going to Avila University, getting my bachelor's in social work, working with the Center for Conflict Resolution's Justice cohort at the Transition Center of Kansas City. So
and unfortunately, Wednesday is her last day, so thank you for being there. Anybody else? An aha moment over here. Danny.
Danny, I think you may have turned it off.
Is it working?
There it is.
I was in this room for the reentry breakout session earlier, and Wayne was up here talking about his journey from TCKC out to the community and what it took for him to make it. And one of the things that really stuck with me is he said that Journey to New Life had such a huge impact on him. They paid his first month's rent, they paid his last month's rent. When he was in between job transitions, they helped him out with some utilities, some rental assistance. And it really just brings to mind that there's like some real financial investment that people coming out of prisons need in order to get over these humps. It may seem like they get over a hump when they get a job or when they get their first place to stay, but life is so hard and life is so unpredictable. Like I was similar to Corey, I had so much going on, but most guys don't. So if they don't have that type of assistance from the community partners to lean on, even the people that me and Jeff work with at Uncornered, active gang members, these guys are trying so hard to do the right thing, but sometimes they need that emergency assistance. And when you try to reach out to some of the organizations, their capacity is so small, it's so little, they may have ran out of funds, they may have used up that grant. So like really, people out here that are re-entering into the community need so much support, and we have to like push aside these thoughts that they're lazy or that they're running game or they're just trying to get something for free and really think about guys like Wayne who told his story. He's doing great now working for Ford, taking care of his son, got his son's mother living in the apartment complex downstairs, but he probably would have had a very much harder time, if not slid back. We talked afterwards, if he wouldn't have been able to lean on that organization to help him get over that hump. So really, like, we just need to really go to our donors, go to our funders, write our grants in different ways so that we can have the type of money that we need in order to give people a real opportunity to get over these humps, because it's super hard and life is super unpredictable. I mean, not all of us have people to reach out to if we hit that kind of financial burden.
Thank you, Danny. Anybody else? Bernard. I'm sorry, Lionel. Go ahead, Lionel, and then Bernard.
I want to respond to the comment about mental health. The world is in crisis, not just the mental health system in America. The world is. The World Health Organization says there are 4 or 5 nations, India, South Africa, Sudan, and Nigeria that are disrupting mental health professions where they are. And so that's what I want to suggest that we do. We can't wait for licensed professionals to get into the prison. We need to figure out how we empower practitioners who can listen, who can be available, who can talk, who can provide the kind of resources. Less than 1% of all mental health therapists look like me. Less than 1%. So for us to have an impact, we can't wait for the next 50 years until whatever happens with our higher education system that's being so disrupted now. We can't wait. And so we have to figure out, Greg, how do we create systems and processes that give mental health to the men and women who need it most?
Thank you, Bernard. Appreciate that. I know.
Yes, sir. I just want to touch on something that he said real quick about the mental health. Yes, sir. The team that I'm here with today, I'm not from Kansas. I'm from back east. I'm from Washington, D.C. But I was blessed and had the fortune to be sent to Kansas from Maryland, and that's how I got involved in reaching out from within, and Miss Sue Ellen Freed, who I call my angel. But one of the things about the mental health, and we have a trauma resilience and wellness movement that we're doing, and we starting on the East Coast. But one of the things that came out of our last forum was that we have a doctor named Damon Hope from Arizona. He's a traumatologist. And the very thing that he said was, we need to train people to be able to go into the communities and the institutions to help push this narrative, because I know, a lot of us that's sitting here that's returning citizens know how important that trauma, that mental health is. So that's something that I'll send to y'all and forward y'all. But I wanted to touch on something that Brother Danny was just talking about resources. The Impact Program is something that, yes, I created in Lansing Correctional Facility. I was blessed that the administration there thought outside the box and gave us the opportunity to create something that's very instrumental and powerful. One of the things we have to understand is that we can't change people's lives without having resources or having something to offer to them. Because one of the biggest successes that we had was we was able to bring them involved, have something that they latched on to, and that was like video games. With the children, the youth, it's something that we utilize with them. But once we get them involved and they're captured, we have their attention, then we move the goalposts and say, hey, well, look, if you want to continue this, then this is what's going to be your responsibility to uphold, and we never do anything without rewarding, because you can't ask somebody to change from a lifestyle that they're living and you don't have nothing to offer, and you can't give them some substantial things that's going to help them to change and to be productive if you're trying to take them away from something. And with that, I'll pass the mic. I don't want to take up too much time. But the Impact Program is something that's very instrumental, and if you can carry use that model in any other prison. I zoom in because, as I say, I'm from back east, but now I'm trying to come back once a month with the team so that we can be instrumental in these guys' life, because when they see something that, and mind you, I had a double life sentence plus 100 years, so I was never supposed to get out of prison. So them guys know and seen my journey, and they know because I come back, I zoom in with them, and they know that I got out of prison, not through getting a new trial, not through getting a sentence reduction. I got out through a program that guys that was in my program in Maryland went to Annapolis, which is the state capital, and fought for a bill that now y'all have. It's called a second chance. And last month, they even took it a step further because they took a bill called the second look. And the second look is an opportunity for guys that's been in prison for 20 years or more. You petition the judge through a lawyer, and the judge bring you back. And one of the things that I always say, it's about your resume. And when I say your resume, what you've done in the time that you've been incarcerated, because that's very important. So with that, I'll pass.
Thank you.
Yeah, first I want to thank Lionel for, well, the state of Maryland sent them to Kansas, and they thought they was doing something wrong. But I thank God that when he got here, he did what he was ready to do, and that's create change. But I want to make this point right here, and somebody said it on the panel, said hope. And this is for all the policymakers that's in here. When you create an environment where people got hope, then they're going to do right. When you take and create an environment where it's nothing, it's only violence, and I come in there, I don't see no opportunity to get out, then my thinking going to be survival, and I'm going to respond accordingly. So what I'm saying to the state of Kansas and the Division of Correction, create hope. We talk about the woman, and she gave a lot of people hope, impact, giving people hope. Create hope in people. If you create hope in these prison environments, they're going to respond. You don't have to worry about how they come out. Right now in the state of Maryland, we coming out in droves. And just like you said, we was down in Annapolis deep. In the 80s, when we was down there lobbying, we had 5 women down there lobbying for us. And that was during the time when you had the victim impact was high. And so they was down there just lobbying, trying to get a change. When we went down there this time, we had senators sponsoring bills, getting up on the floor, representing us, and went down there deep because we wanted to show them that we had a second chance, and what we're doing with our second chance is creating opportunities for those that's coming behind us.
Thank you. All right. Thank you all for those insights and for the aha moments that you've shared. We've had a long day. We're getting ready to wrap up. Before we go, we have a couple of announcements and things that we'd like to tie up together. First of all, I just got some figures from Carrie. There were at least 16 different groups that were on, most of those from different prisons in a number of states: Missouri, North Carolina, Kansas, as well as Ohio, California, and there was another one that I forgot, whichever it was. But there were at least 16 different groups, a high of about 50 people, at low or approximately 10 in each, so well over 200 people online listening to this today, as well as we had a few empty seats, but we had just over 200 booked for today. So we had almost 200 in the room here. So we're reaching a number of people. We love this venue, so we really don't want to change from this venue, but we can't cram too many more people in here, so we'll have to get some more people online, or gonna have to start doing shifts or something to make it more accessible. But we're glad that each of you could be here today, and thank you for the people who are online that joined us. We have continued the dialogue about criminal legal reform, and we've engaged in important conversations about restoring dignity for returning citizens, about creating new blueprints for successful reentry, for exploring innovations in corrections that can change the culture and climate of corrections. And we've listened to the heartfelt stories of members of Reaching Out From Within who found the courage to change. With your presence here today, we've developed and strengthened relationships that will help us move forward to change the narrative around rethinking human dignity in prisons and in our communities. Our hope is that you will all take out your phone right now and continue this dialogue on social media. If you know what this means, you're farther along than I am, but hashtag courage to change and hashtag ROFW, tag us. Go see Carrie if you need to know what that is, because I don't know what that means. And on Twitter, it's using @reachingoutfrom. Please share your insights with others, share the pictures. We would love to see your pictures if you have pictures or comments about the symposium that we can post on Reaching Out From Within's website. Before I go, there's 2 other announcements we need. One, there's been a lot of talk about mental health. There's been a lot of talk about the struggles that people go through in getting out of prison. Tomorrow, there is a reentry simulation. How many people have done a reentry simulation? So that means the rest of you have not. If you have not done a reentry simulation, this takes you through the process of what it's like for getting out of prison, all the things that you are bombarded with that some of our panel members discussed, what it takes to get through that. And Mike, I believe, is going to come up and talk to us just for a minute and let us know that simulation is taking place here tomorrow at 9 a.m. And because you were here today, you are invited back to be able to do that at 9 o'clock tomorrow. Tell us more about that, Mike. Danny, can we use the mic? Thank you.
Is that on? Yes. Yes, my name is Mike Gibbons. I'm with the board, but one of the things that we've experienced today is you've heard a lot of good insight and stories and testimonies from these individuals that have gone through where they're at. And we always love a good story where we hear success rates and see individuals that have come through the system. I've been very blessed because I worked in Lansing Correctional Facility, and some of these individuals I've had on my caseload back in the day, to see them where they're at now is just amazing. But one of the things we don't realize is what they had to do to get there. And one thing about this reentry simulation is that you get to experience 4 hours of living what they've had to go through. Now, I'll give you a good example. I did it when I was a parole officer. And I also did with the Wyandotte County Sheriff. In 30 minutes, we were sitting in jail. And so he's looking at me and says, "You do this for a living?" And I said, "You do this for a living." And the thing about it was reality. A lot of us have been working in the system, and we have certain rules and policies and procedures that we expect our clients, returning citizens, to do. However, we don't know what the impact is of what they have to do to get there. We know what we require them to do. And just another story, I had a Wyandotte County judge, and I get to play judge during the simulation, so it's sort of fun. But he wouldn't even get up and get involved in the simulation because he was intimidated by what they had to do. Well, I put him in jail. And then I let him out to go ahead and go through the simulation. So we have started this with reaching out from within because we want to also be involved in the reentry process as well. These individuals are working on themselves inside using the Blue Book and then coming to the outside. But I encourage everyone, and I know it's going to be difficult because some of you have to go back to work tomorrow. I'm retired, so too bad. But anyway, if you can't have an opportunity to come tomorrow, definitely you need to seek out a simulation to go to. That way you get to experience what these individuals didn't have really an opportunity to talk about too much. Daryl had a little bit of conversation on that because, again, there's a lot of things that are going on, a lot of requirements, a lot of demands, and even as a professional, we just figure, well, they should be able to get their things done because that's our expectation of them without knowing how much is involved in actually being successful. And the last thing I'll say is if I take everything away from you, everything, you don't have a house to go to, you don't have people to go to, because some of these guys come out with no plans. They burn their bridges with their family members. Some of these things have happened, it's reality. If I take that all away from you today, I just go and I take your car keys, I take everything away from you, and then I say, okay, make it. You're going to look at me going, no, I don't want to do that. And so to experience this is what you need to do because this is a follow-up to an understanding of why we're here to begin with. And if we do that, then you'll have a better insight to be able to further on do more work for helping that returning citizen because we want them as being taxpayers and not tax burdens. And so do they. But boy, I'll tell you, some of the stuff that we put on them, the expectations, is unreal. So please, please have that opportunity. If you can't come tomorrow, The Village Initiative is, and there's other ones, but I'm part of the Village Initiative. They put on these seminars, or excuse me, not seminars, but the simulations, so people get an understanding. It's fantastic when it's when a professional that's in social work, corrections, law enforcement, whatever, and they go through these things and they stand back and they go, wow, I did not realize that. So please, again, tomorrow it goes from 9 to 12 back at this facility back here at the conference center, and it's free. But you will see and open up your eyes to an experience that will just blow you away. Then you'll come to a better understanding what these successful guys had to go through to be able to be successful. It's a lot harder than what you think. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. Thank you, Mike. Again, 9 to 12 right here. I believe the last count I saw was there were over 40 people that are already signed up, but they can take up to about 70 So there's a few more spots if you want to get in. One of our other partners, the Kansas City, the one tomorrow is by Village Initiative. Kansas City Crime Commission, one of our other partners, has one scheduled in May, I believe. So if you can't make tomorrow and you still want to do that, contact us and we can get you set up with one of the other simulations. Next to the last thing, I want to introduce Eliza Barr, our Executive Director again. She has a couple of ways for you to get involved with Reaching Out From Within and a couple of announcements about things that are upcoming for ROFW. So I will give it to you.
All right, well, good afternoon again, everybody. And I am fully aware everybody's full of rice and beans, so I'm not gonna be up here long and hang on to you. I'm gonna let you get home. I did want to share, though, how grateful I am that I did have the opportunity to meet Miss Llewellyn. For many of you, most of you may know this, but many of you may not. My mother gave birth to me while she was incarcerated, and throughout my youth, my mother and father were in and out of prison. Because of that, you become hardened to correctional facilities. And so when this opportunity was presented to me, I had zero interest in it whatsoever. Somebody with Nonprofit Connect submitted me for it. And when I got the call from Greg and I went and got the opportunity to sit and hear how this program was developed and that it was created by individuals who were incarcerated and for individuals who are incarcerated. The board had individuals who were formerly incarcerated. The alumni group, it really was a work of love. It was not just somebody putting on a cape and saying, I'm coming in to save you. And so that's what sold me on being a part of Reaching Out From Within. So that's why I want to make sure that I just say to the Freeds, you had an absolutely phenomenal mother. I know you don't need anybody to tell you that, but when we go into KDOC and administration says, well, you don't say no to Sue Ellen, they're not lying. When Sue Ellen called me and said, we want you, I did not say no to Sue Ellen. So thank you very much for sharing your mother with us. I want to make sure that I share, I know the alumni panel is always a favorite. Our alumni are always seeking out opportunities for speaking engagements. So whether that is at a school, I know we have a lot of charter schools and schools that are geared towards individuals who might be struggling a little bit. It's a perfect opportunity to utilize our alumni. If you are a professor at a school and you're working in criminal justice and people need to hear real world stories, again, a perfect opportunity to utilize our alumni. They're always asking me about speaking engagements, so please put them to work on that. Board and volunteer availability. I've already hit Bernard up about a board opportunity, but we do and we are actively seeking board members and we're actively seeking volunteers. Volunteering with us does not have to look like you going into the facility. We have other opportunities for you to volunteer with us. If you are interested, just shoot us over an email and we'll see where we can place you where you best fit. Let's see here. We want to thank our donors and our sponsors. I know a lot of them are in the room today. This summer, we will be hosting a brunch because we would like to get to know you on a more personal level. So we are going to have a donors and sponsors brunch where you can come out and have a more personal conversation with staff, board members, and alumni, and get a little better feel of where your funding actually goes and how it does assist the program. Blue Book expansion. We are actively seeking out opportunities to expand our Blue Book program. Now, whenever you go into a facility, they are going to tell you they do not have funding. Reaching out from within is one of the lowest cost opportunities that you can put in a facility that is really going to impact change. We heard a lot of talk about recidivism, and reaching out from within's numbers do not lie. We do aid in the reduction of recidivism, but we also aid in the reduction of disciplinary reports. So there are a lot of individuals who are currently incarcerated whose disciplinary reports have lowered due to their involvement with reaching out from within. So to all of the facilities that are here today, if you know you do not have reaching out from within in your facility, shoot us an email and we can have a conversation with you about how we can make that happen. And we can do it in other states. We're in North Carolina, and we have 4 facilities that have reached out to, 4. Okay, we have 4 that have reached out within like the past 2 weeks that are ready to get started. Our fall event is going to be taking place on November 8th, and that is going to focus on women in prison. So just make sure you're signed up for the newsletter. You will get an update about the fall event, where it's going to be hosted, the time, and things like that. I wanted to share some highlights that we had for 2024, and 2 of the really big ones. In 2024, Reaching Out From Within was named a nonprofit catalyst by United Way, and we were one of their premier catalysts, so we were featured on all of their social media, and they did a big campaign blitz for us. That was really exciting because I think we got like a $20,000 grant with that. And some really exciting news is that Reaching Out From Within is getting into the returning citizens work. So we are going to be developing a workforce development plan for individuals who are coming home from incarceration. With that, we have joined a returning citizens consortium that is led by Workforce Partnership, and it includes starting early, peer-to-peer, structured support, Renaissance Community and Public Relations, KDOC, Workforce Alliance, Strategic Organization, Wichita Chamber of Commerce, Kansas City, Kansas Community College, and the Kansas Chamber. And we just received, the beginning of this year, a $450,000 grant from Kaufman that was a planning grant for us to plan the returning citizens group. And then we get to pitch our plan in October, and then we have a shot at up to $5 million to implement it. So thank you. We are genuinely excited about that opportunity, so fingers crossed and prayers up that we get it. And I do want to say that the symposiums and the fall events are an extension of what Reaching Out From Within is. If you genuinely want to know what this program does, you have to come to a meeting. It's not difficult for us to get you in there. We drop a Sue Ellen Freed name and they'll get you in. I promise you, I've seen it happen. So if you are interested in knowing what this organization does and why we have individuals who sit up here and talk about how impactful the work of this organization is, you have to go and sit in that circle and participate in one of those meetings. So I thank everybody and have a great evening.
Thank you, Eliza. Thank you, Eliza. Thank you all for being here. We are adjourned.